We're going to talk about self-control, right? And there's three different elements to self-control. And what made me think about this topic of self-control is because this weekend I was actually in Atlantic City, right? And for those who don't know what that is, just in case, not assuming, it's just a place in New Jersey where a lot of people gamble, right? I'm not much of a gambler or anything like that. I mean, I'll play a couple, but not like that. But when I was there with my partner, we was really looking at people watching and seeing how people did not have self control, right? We literally saw people who won $1,000, $2,000, 5,000, 10,000, and then maybe the next day put it all back into the casino. And this is probably why they say the house always wins, right? Because people have the lack of control in just this one area. But then it makes you think as you people watch, right? If they have a lack of control in this area of their life, like gambling, right? It's not for fun, right? It's not a sport. If they have a lack of control in this area, then what other areas of their life that they may have a lack of control of, and what is the effect of that lack of control, right? And this affects not just your personal life, but your business life, your relationship life, your financial life, right? It affects all these things. So bringing it back to, thinking about yourself and your mindset, right? What do you have a lack of self-control of, if you do, right? Because one thing I want you to know as well, you know how when I was thinking, prepping for this, it was funny. I was making myself laugh because people say, man, my patience is running out. I know we say that jokingly, but I'm letting you know that that is a real thing, right? With self control, right? It's something you build up to. It's like a muscle, right? It's like a muscle. So with self control, with patience, right? Because I mentioned patience, like it's something you have to build up to. And that's why, like, a lot of the times when they talk about, and I think I mentioned this on the last time I was on here, like with addiction and stuff like that, like they say take it one day at a time because that self control is from a well and you don't want it to dry out. Or that's why they say sometimes it's hard to cold turkey, right? Because it's something you have to build up to with this self control. But within self control as well, right? There are different layers of self control that we're gonna run through. So before we go through that, I'm gonna take you to the video that I have for today, and then we're gonna come back and just talk about some of the things that I have mentioned for you. Let me apologize for being a little slow. My Zoom finally updated and now it just looks so different. So I'm like, what is going on? Okay, here we go.
You are not where you want to be in your life right now. Not because of your struggles, not because of the opposition, not because of the forces against you. You are not where you want to be because of you. You are the only one who holds you back.
It's all you. You tell yourself all these lies, reasons, justifications to why you're not winning in life. I'm too tired. I need to rest. I don't have the right gear. I don't have enough money. I don't have time. Something else is more important. The day you'll start to actually make changes in your life to move forward is the day you acknowledge that all those excuses are bullshit. They're all fabricated lies to make you feel better about taking the easy road.
And when you take the easy road, it'll be more comfortable. It'll make you feel warm and safe and not too stressed, but only in the short term. Long term, it'll create a nightmare. Things will begin to fall apart. But if you decide that you are willing to deal with those tedious, annoying, and hard tasks today that you know needs to be done, you start paving a road to a life that will be smooth in the long term.
Doing what's easy makes life hard, but doing what's hard makes life easy. Stop taking the easy approach to everything. Your life, your tasks, your goals, your dreams will be so much sweeter when you do it the harder way. The way you know you're capable of doing, to the very best of your ability.
In order to do that, you've got to start fighting back against all those weak thoughts that creep up in your brain when you're feeling tired or lazy or just sick of the grind. You gotta shut that down. You gotta tell it to go away. And replace those thoughts with the thought of what you're gonna achieve from getting this task done, getting this project completed.
You gotta take ownership back over your brain. Stop letting the weak motherfucker in your head own you. They don't own you, you own you. You get that weakness to shut the fuck up. And you do that through execution. Execute on your mission every fucking day, whether you feel like it or not.
The decisions you make every single day determine the way you are physically and mentally. When your alarm goes off in the morning, do you roll over and sleep more, or get your ass up and start working? When you see that your room needs cleaning, do you tell yourself you'll do it tomorrow, or do you get started on cleaning up? Because no one grows from sitting on the damn couch, from slacking off, from taking that path of least resistance, that downhill path.
Whenever you run into something that you gotta do that's hard, shut down your feelings about it, shut down any evaluation of it, deciding if you'll do it or not, and just go get it.
And can be your best friend or your worst fucking enemy. It can lift you up to the peaks of Everest or drag you down to the darkest pits of hell. The trick is to grab the reins and steer this wild beast where you want it to go, not just wherever it feels like wandering. No, you are the director, you are the writer, you determine the outcomes for you.
You're not destined to be whatever you are right now. You've got the power to mold, shape, and redefine who you are. But it takes discipline. It's about waging war on those sneaky doubts and lazy habits lurking in your mind. Every day you fight to improve. You fight to push past the resistance. You fight to tackle the hard shit head on. And every time you conquer these challenges, you're not just completing tasks. You're building an ironclad belief in yourself, your vision, your purpose on this planet.
That inner voice that keeps telling you that you're not good enough, that you can't do it, that it's too hard, that voice is a fucking liar. You gotta call it out. Every time it whispers some defeatist crap, you shut it down with a "not today, motherfucker."
Your comfort zone is a death trap. It's where dreams go to rot and die. Every time you face something hard and your instinct is to back off, that's the moment you need to double down. You gotta teach your mind to crave that resistance, to get off on the challenge.
Start by setting goals that scare the living shit out of you. I'm talking about goals that make you question your own sanity. Why? Because when you reach for the highest, it forces your brain to stretch, to grow, to adapt.
You've got to establish a routine that's non-negotiable, creating habits of daily execution and disciplined action. It's about a commitment, committing 100% to your goals and dreams. Whether it's waking up at the crack of dawn, hitting the gym when your body screams no, or grinding through a project that feels like mental torture, you do it. No excuses, no mental debates, no mercy.
You need to wake up each day with the hunger of someone who's never tasted success. Regardless of yesterday's victories, forget about how far you've come right now and focus on what you can be. If you really tried your hardest, what can you become if you worked as hard as you could? What can you become if you impose real discipline in your life right now? You gotta wake up every single day with that mentality and then do everything you possibly can to go find out.
You got to be ruthless with yourself. When you feel like procrastinating, that's your cue to double your efforts. The moment you start feeling cozy and content with good enough, that's when you need to shock your system. Push harder, aim higher. This is not about being a merciless tyrant to yourself. It's about recognizing that true growth, real fucking transformation happens only when you're out on the edge, facing your fears, pushing for the impossible. It's in this space, this uncomfortable, unnerving zone, that greatness is born and legends are made.
One of the biggest contradictions of massive success is when people go to their moms, their dads, their brother, sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, they say, listen, one day the world's gonna know who I am. One day I will have a Ferrari, the Lambo, the Rolls, the Bentley, the big house, the cars, the backyard with the big swimming pool and an elevator. I'm gonna put the biggest parties. I'm gonna be a millionaire one day. Yet, instead of staying at the office on Friday night, you call your friends and you go party. Instead of waking up Saturday morning to go to the gym, you sleep until 10 o'clock. Instead of reading the book on Sundays, you kick back and watch movies all day long. The reality is very simple. Those who win big, they do 4 things right. They sleep, sweat, grind, repeat. And they do it over and over and over again until their dreams become a reality.
At the end of your feelings is possibly nothing. But at the end of your principle is a promise. And some of you are where you are. If you could be real with yourself, you have gotten yourself in some mess because of your feelings. We are losing control. And it's time for those of you in this room to take control. You've held up your someday. Either you didn't get the right information or you got it, you didn't use it, you're not getting up early enough. I don't know what you're doing. But when you leave, all I want for you is to live your someday. No more playing after today. And here's the crazy part. All you got to do is look in the mirror. All you got to do is deal with yourself, and then we're going to get to a whole other level.
Because the only one that is stopping you is you.
I need you to take control over every single area, and then someday gonna be your day.
Excuses are for weak people. If you're gonna make it happen, get your ass up and get to work.
No more excuses. No more, I'll start tomorrow. No more, just this once. No more accepting the shortfalls of my own will. No more taking the easy road. No more waiting for the perfect moment, and no more indecision, and no more lies. No more weakness. Now is the time for strength. And through strength, and through will, and through unwavering discipline, I will become who I want to be.
Suffocate your bullshit excuses and go do something.
Stop running from it and run to it. Stop telling me what you're going through. The greats, they get to it, they go through it. And the harder it is, the better. Make it work. Let's go.
Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
I'm trying to tell you, you can win. You can win. Despite the circumstance, you can win. Despite the adversity, you can win. Despite the situation, you can win. Despite how much money you got in your bank, you can win. Despite the fact if your parents in your life or not, you can win. Despite the fact that you started behind, you can win. You can pull it off. No excuses. No more complaining. No more giving up. What's that thing that's gonna pump you up and get you over that hill? What's gonna pump you up and get you over that mountain? What's gonna pump you up and get you past that disease? What's gonna pump you up and get you past bankruptcy? What's gonna pump you up and get you to the other doggone side? Come on, you can win.
If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, your life will be easy.
We all want to be a beast. But do you know what a beast is? A beast is someone who can go through hell and be grateful.
That's the video for today, ladies and gentlemen. Do you have self-control? I know he mentioned control once, but this is a compilation, right? And together of having control and having the mindset to control certain things, right? So it's just as little as like craving that resistance, right? That's a big factor self-control, because sometimes we have, which is the three things I want to mention within self-control is that, well, we'll just jump into it. So the first one of self-control, right, is like that impulse control, right? So what that simply means is, right, with the impulse control is being able to stop and think before acting, right? Because impulse control lets people think through their consequences. So think about that type of self-control. Like sometimes, especially we see it especially a lot when we're like aggravated or upset, right? We tend to just react versus think through everything we're about to say and then make a conscious decision of what we're going to say, right? And people without impulse control usually just blurt out things without thinking, right? They act quickly without thinking things through, right? And that's the key word, things through. They act aggressively towards people. Some of the things like people overreact when upset, right? Or they interrupt a lot or talk a lot, right? They speak out of turn. Some people we witness this at work. Some people we witness this with our kids, right? Not getting things done. Like one of the things in the video, right? He said was like, is it tomorrow or versus now? Like, oh, I need to clean my room. But are we doing it now or are we doing it tomorrow? Right? Sometimes we rush through things. That's another impulse control, right? Impulse. We rush through things. Like, are we rushing through things and not doing things the right way the first time? Right. And another small thing is like you follow rules sometimes, but not all the time. Right. That's another impulse type of self-control. And how we combat that, right? And this, a lot of some of the things I'm going to say a little differently, but it's how it's perceived and how you receive it. Is that one thing we could do to combat this impulse type of self control, right? Is the mindful and meditation of things. So that's one thing, right? Just be more aware of what we're thinking. And like one thing that was taught to me is that before you to make a quick decision, but sometimes before you make a decision or be quote unquote impulsive, is count down from 5 to 1, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, and sometimes it slows down your mind. It catches your thoughts, and then you actually get to think and run through what do you actually want to say and go and say the right things the first time, right? Another thing is right meditation. Meditation really helps because sometimes, and again, everybody meditates different, whether it's taking a walk or just sitting still. You sit with yourself and you start to think. You sit with yourself, start to think, and then you get to know what you're thinking because you have to be aware of what you're thinking, right? And why you're thinking certain things, right? Journaling is really good always, right? Another thing for impulse to control impulse is like, are you giving yourself the delay gratification, right? Where especially like I'm from New York, we're in this now society, like we need it now, 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 but delayed gratification, right? If I order food and it says it's going to take 30 minutes, is that okay, right? Because the reward of that is that it's going to be nice, it's going to be fresh. But now think about the other things in your life that can take a day or two and that you don't have to be so impulsive. Well, I'll give you a true example. Another thing I've learned, right, is that say, for example, when you're shopping on either Walmart or Amazon, right, throw things in your cart and leave it there for 2 days and see if you really need it, right? Because sometimes we're impulsive. So leave it in your cart. See if you really need it. Delay that gratification, right? And then let me see what else I wrote. Right, and then practice how to like rephrase certain things. Like go through old thoughts or conversations that you may have like regretted or said something wrong, and teach yourself, right? And go back and see like how could I have rephrased this, right? If I would have, if I sat down and thought about it, how can I rephrase it? And then you're training your mind as well on, okay, I want to curse this person now, right? Or I want to write this bad email, but how could I reframe from it coming from a place of negativity and get negative consequences versus getting back a constructive thing that I wanted to, right? The second part of self-control, right? And I think this is the part where I seen at the casino where I was seeing people just win a lot of money and flirt a lot of money is like emotional control. That's another part of self-control, the emotional factor, right? And I always write down like what it is so we can blatantly see it. So emotional control is the ability to manage your feelings, right? So without emotional control, people get easily frustrated. They give up when things don't go their way. Um, they can't handle criticism well, right? They have a hard time calming down to get things done. Uh, they have trouble keeping their cool when someone's upset or ignores them. Sometimes we overreact to small disappointments or challenges, right? Or sometimes, even being emotional, we have very big or loud reactions when upset or when we're happy, right? So I think like emotion, like at the casino, I think people were emotionally attached to something, right? And like they were highs on the highs and they was lows on the lows. And Chris, right, when we mentor with Chris, or when I mentor with Chris and the people who do, is like he says never get highs on the highs and never get lows on the low, right? Because at the casino, I seen people were really high up there, and when they won money, they were super excited. They think they could win more, right? I could do this again, and they put their money in, and then that's it, right? So they were really high on high, and then I see people really lows on the low. They're losing money, and they trying to get it, because they think they can, and they make these decisions that they regret later, right? So something to combat that is that you have to identify those triggers, like what's when I get emotional, like what's making me emotional, what's going on, right? And how do I manage them? So you can like write that down, right? Sometimes when we get really mad, right, before we react and become impulsive, take a deep breath, right? Take a step away, take a deep breath, and just breathe and try to go through that motion, right? Of feeling. Not to say it doesn't exist or anything like that, but again, don't want to combine the emotional portion with the impulse, right? And then you know, within all this, we do have to develop emotional intelligence throughout all of this, recognizing, understanding, and managing your emotions. I know it's not easy, right? And some of these skills too, sometimes is just like showing empathy, active listening, and effective communication. That communication plays a big role, right? And then the last part, and I'll run through this quick because this is the simplest one. Part of self-control is a movement control, right? So movement control is the ability to manage how our body moves and when, and being really in what's that word? Having intentions on how we move, right? Because people without movement control can be overly active and restless, or they fidget a lot sometimes, right? Some people who don't have movement control sometimes have trouble sitting still, right? So some things with this very easily, right? Just exercise regularly. That plays a big role on coordination, awareness, balance. It also helps you out with the emotional portion of things, right? Practice some motor skills, right? Writing, painting, right? That's why we say, I don't know if you see it, but everything's connected to something. We strongly suggest always journaling because it always helps many other areas, right? And then the other things like the mind body practice of just sitting down, thinking, maybe a little yoga, the mindfulness, right? Because sometimes especially me being in New York, and I see the people around me is always on the go, and they don't have that self control of just sitting down and relaxing to get that mindful motivation, mindfulness meditation, the cognitive function, right? They're always impulsive. So once you have this full self-control, right, in any area of your life and whatever it's affecting, now you begin to start fighting back against the thing that makes life hard. So this way things become easier for yourself. With that, ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. Have some self control in whatever area that is. And I'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.